You're watching TelecomTV's Spotlight on 5G series. It's Tuesday the 27th of February and this is The Slice. Headlines today: Telcos call for a new deal for Europe. Will AI enable the post-app smartphone? Leveraging cloud and AI infrastructure, and sustainable energy for Africa's networks. Hello, I'm Guy Daniels and welcome to Tuesday's edition of The Slice. Each day we are bringing you daily coverage of the major 5G related news and analysis from MWC Barcelona. I'm reporting from the TelecomTV studio, while my editorial colleagues Maistre and Yanitsa Boyadzhieva are covering events from the show floor. So, for the first time this week, let's now hear from Yani. Yani, it's Tuesday, it's day 2 of what's looking like a very long week. Did you manage to slip away yesterday evening and enjoy a quiet glass or two, or was it non-stop telecoms networking right into the night?
Hi Guy, yes indeed, this is the second day here at MWC. Last night was a very interesting evening. I didn't get the chance to have a quiet night in. We were attending a very nice dinner on behalf of Orange's executive team. Obviously I cannot tell you anything because it was off the record, but what I can share is that we were spending a night at a restaurant at the top of a tower, which was a magnificent view over Barcelona. So that was a great evening.
Sounds great, and I love those off-the-record conversations we have with CSPs. Now, you started yesterday with an AI-related press event with SK Telecom, and we'll be talking more about that later in this show. But already there have been a number of major announcements around telco AI, and it looks like AI is already the story of this year's event.
Indeed, Guy, AI is cropping up as the single most important topic this year, perhaps not surprising to anyone. What we are seeing here on the show floor, for instance, are a number of showcases by some of the biggest telcos in the world, presenting ways to use the technology for new innovation, new types of services, new applications, especially for business purposes, and also some consumer applications as well. What else? What we can also see is that AI is one of the most important topics at keynotes and sessions organized all around every day at the show. So not only day 1, but we are expecting the same for day 2 as well.
Yeah, there's certainly going to be a lot to analyse when we all return home. Now, we'll see you again later for a full report from day 2. But before you go, what are you still hoping to see at MWC?
That's a good question. I think that what I would be excited to see is some really innovative new showcases, something that is really groundbreaking, something that is different from anything we've seen before. Maybe some new showcases demonstrating how telcos can really bring new revenue streams this year and going forward.
Well, let's hope we see that. Thanks for the moment, Yani. Off you go now, and we'll catch up with you again later in the show for your analysis of day 2. Ray, Yani and the rest of the editorial team have some great interviews with CSPs lined up, and we'll feature highlights from those every day in The Slice. And a reminder that we'll be adding new full-length videos to the TelecomTV website all week for you to watch on demand, and they'll be posted just as soon as we can. One of the highlights of the MWC conference yesterday was undoubtedly this session featuring CEOs of 4 leading European operators. Their real audience, though, was the regulators. They were arguing for fairness, transparency and an overhaul of traditional regulations, which they say are no longer suitable for today's telcos. They also argue that these regulations are stifling investment and hindering their ability to compete with the US-based tech titans.
What you can see, more than 60% of all European telcos are not earning their capital costs anymore. So can you tell me how companies can invest into future infrastructure if they're not earning the money back? Who the hell is giving these companies money for the future investments which are so desperately needed?
In a 5G world, it's absolutely impossible to have economic returns on so many networks built in parallel. I think if we were talking about roads or energy, people would understand that. It doesn't mean that there cannot be 20 brands, 50 brands competing on retail towards the customer. The question is how many infrastructure in a 5G world can exist at the same time.
By the way, I was listening to us, and I don't want to leave the audience with the impression this is not a therapy. This is not just for operators, bad mouth in Europe. This is something different. This is a desperate rallying cry. Let us compete.
It was at times quite a feisty discussion, and you should try and watch it in its entirety over at the GSMA's website. It's an argument that comes up year after year, and each time it feels like we edge a little closer to a resolution, but no further. Maybe though this year will be different. Well, let's hope so. Telenor has announced a global collaboration with Nvidia, along with a significant investment in Nvidia infrastructure. We spoke to Telenor's Chief Technology Officer, who outlined the reasons behind the deal and how it will benefit Telenor and its customers.
So the collaboration with Nvidia is really about us investing significantly in Nvidia's infrastructure and bringing it to our facilities, starting from our data centers in Norway. And then once we have that infrastructure in Norway, our approach is to do 4 things. 1, to really start driving sovereign cloud opportunities together, Nvidia and ourselves, into this market. 2nd, to really use that as a center of excellence, as a factory to drive innovative use cases for ourselves, whether it's network, IT or systems. 3rd is to externalize that innovation by working with the research community in the Nordics and empowering research and academia. And then 4th is really about driving the change of AI across the society, starting from Norway, but also other Nordic countries.
And you can watch the full interview with Amol right here on TelecomTV. He also talks about the company's technology vision and the next generation of digital support systems. Deutsche Telekom held its annual press conference on Monday, covering a wide range of announcements. One of the most interesting concerned the telco's vision of the post-app smartphone. Rather than a screen full of individual applications, an AI assistant or digital concierge would take voice commands and return personalised results. Now, don't expect such a device to hit the stores anytime soon, but this concept work shows how keen the telcos are to wrest back customer value from the device manufacturers and OS gatekeepers.
We are introducing here the concept of an AI phone. It is a phone that can work entirely without apps. By the way, at this booth we show 2 prototypes. The first prototype is where the AI and the computing power is in the cloud. And that prototype is being realized with the company Brain AI. And the second version comes on device. We developed that as a concept together with Qualcomm. Here the AI and the computing power is on the device. The advantage is the latency is lower. It's energy efficient. And of course, you could argue it's the best solution for privacy.
Looking beyond Europe, we spoke with the CEO of Orange Middle East and Africa. The telco group has operations in 17 countries throughout the region. As well as challenges over taxation, regulation and spectrum licensing, the region also has geographical challenges that impact sustainability and energy efficiency, specifically in powering remote cell sites.
In Middle East and Africa, we are very much focused on the transition towards solar energy. We improved our energy ratio, renewable energy ratio, which is a key KPI for us, from 27% up to 33% in 2023. So it's a great achievement, but we have to keep the pace. And for that, we focus on deploying more solar sites. We have more than 7,000 solar sites now, using as well contracts with energy service companies, ESCOs. We have 10 countries using first kind of contracts, and as well trying to deploy solar farms or solar grids everywhere we can. And the last lever is probably to work with vendors, and that will be a topic that we will discuss here with our partners on how to develop more green features for the network for the RAN.
And you can watch the full interview with Jérôme right here on TelecomTV. He talks about the group's activities across the region, and yes, AI also gets a mention. As always, MWC generates vast amounts of news, too much for us to cover in this show. However, we have selected a few of our favourites. Solutions by STC, the privatised IT arm of the Saudi Arabian telco, has announced an agreement with Mavenir to launch the kingdom's first commercial Open RAN network. The multi-layered 4G and 5G service is expected to go live later in the year. Rakuten is partnering with OpenAI to develop and deliver artificial intelligence tools designed for telecoms networks. The Rakuten AI platform will be expanded to include solutions for customer service, network optimization, and predictive maintenance of networks. And Europe's Mistral AI has released Mistral Large, which it says is the most advanced language model to date, able to work in 5 European languages. It has also announced a partnership with Microsoft, bringing its open and commercial models to Azure. This is in addition to its self-hosted and European cloud-hosted solutions. And for even more news, make sure you visit the TelecomTV website and also sign up for our 7 AM Insights newsletter. We spoke briefly to TelecomTV's deputy editor, Yanitsa Boyadzhieva, at the start of the show. So let's now return to the show floor for Yani's daily analysis.
AI is cropping up as the biggest trend this year, and major telcos and vendors are shifting focus towards technologies driven by AI for expected efficiencies. Prime example is SK Telecom. The operator unveiled that the Global Telco AI Alliance is pushing forward with its mission to build telco-specific large language models. Alongside partners Deutsche Telekom, E&, and Singtel, the alliance is now joined by Japanese telco SoftBank. And the quintet is now looking to establish a joint venture later this year to help operators deploy generative AI models and to also enable them to transform various businesses and services using AI. This move comes to show that large language models are increasingly becoming a mature play for telcos, and that the industry is now ready to embrace new technologies and bring innovation to the forefront in yet another attempt to find new revenue streams. SKT also showcased several AI-powered demonstrations at its stand, including a solution to make contact center operations more efficient and a cybersecurity offering that is due to be launched later this year. And perhaps the most interesting showcase was the so-called AI pin. The solution is claimed to be the world's first AI wearable and can answer questions hands-free, app-free, and even screen-free, as responses are provided on the customer's palm. Deutsche Telekom also had interesting AI-powered showcases at its stand, one of which involved an interactive hologram, a personal assistant called Emma that helps with providing answers, and answering calls with a speaker that appears in the shape of an avatar. The demonstration also showed how the assistant can adjust things like switching off the router at certain parts of the house. AI also dominated keynotes and sessions here at the Fira Gran Via. In one of these summits, top-level executives from Verizon and Telia noted that the role of telco will be key as generative AI becomes more pervasive and prevalent. They also stated that going forward, it will be important for telcos to organize and bring the data together, and to also assess the value of specific AI use cases, which have the potential to be scaled up massively.
And we'll be talking with Yani again later this week. Now, as well as reporting on the latest news from MWC Barcelona, we have a series of special Spotlight on 5G programs for you. We'll be bringing you interviews with leading CSP executives, adding the videos to our site throughout the week. And then next week, it's time for the after show, the return of our Q&A program. Ray and I will be analysing the major developments from MWC with our studio guests. It's not just the operators and cloud giants that are making the news at MWC this year. There have been plenty of announcements and developments from vendors. Here's today's roundup of our partner highlights.
What impact has the rise of messaging scams had on MNOs and their subscribers?
Well, you're completely correct. We have observed the rise of the nuisance communication worldwide, everywhere, impacting mobile operator services. Messaging scam has been quite a big issue, quite a big problem. When an operator has a lot of messaging scam in the network, then effectively the brand, the operator brand, is impacted. It's losing trust with the consumers and quite often affects also the revenue, because operators making quite a lot of revenue with A2P messaging, for example. And when consumers are receiving a lot of scam, then they cannot trust the fully legitimate messages that are distributed by the official A2P channels.
So you've also got something new here that you're talking about in the show, BSS Magic. Yes. Can you tell us about that? And I think we've discussed there's a lot of products already out there in the market, a lot of companies. Yes. What is it that's kind of, that you're pushing as the unique selling point for BSS?
Yeah, I think BSS is a very highly customized product, and because of that, just historically that's what it's been, it makes it a very slow and expensive process. And we think the addition of generative AI, right, this next revolution of technology that's coming to telco, right, first one being the public cloud, and the second one being generative AI, really gives us an opportunity to make that whole process cheaper and faster. And so we've never had that combination in telco, the ability to be super customized, cheap, and fast. And so we think this is a whole new opportunity. No one else does it. And we're super excited. We have our avatar, which you spoke to in a super awesome interview that we really enjoyed doing with you. But yeah, you don't need engineers. You don't need a big engineering team. Business people can now just speak what they want. Help me build a BSS. And it dynamically does it, and I'll be demonstrating it during my talk at the MVNO Summit.
How do you see a 5G telco packet core solution contributing to reducing an operator's TCO, particularly in terms of operational efficiencies and resource optimization?
So service providers have been on a journey to modernize their networks for over a decade now. They've moved towards virtualization, and with the advent of 5G, that's really accelerated the movement towards virtualization and ultimately towards cloud native. And in that process, they've added a lot of servers in their infrastructure as they've decoupled hardware from software, running packet core applications on server infrastructure. And they've seen an increase in the number of servers as well as the consumption of power to overall power the core networks. And they are in a critical need to reduce power consumption, to reduce their capex, and overall to reduce their TCO. So this is an area that's ripe for innovation.
We will be featuring other interviews, demos and roundtable discussions with our vendor partners, and all of them will be available to watch on the TelecomTV website. That's all for today's edition of The Slice. Join us again on Wednesday for another report from Barcelona on day 3 of MWC. Until then, thanks for watching and goodbye.